Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Vis, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that Atticus Vis has become the executor of the Bolonsong estate. Valentyne removed the heretical elements of Morgan's aquila scarring, while Eli helped Atticus write his poetry and the Lord of the Manor was forced to parley with a space marine. Can they solve the mysteries of Greybridge now that they're at the center of a murderous conspiracy? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
Solicitor note on the will of Guinevere Bolonsong. Who the fuck is Francois Van Houten? Morgan, your new wounds are bound. You've cleaned them, you've bound them, and you've survived the ordeal. Valentyne, you and Morgan have finished your work and are able to rejoin Atticus and Eli. Is there anything that you would do before you go back to meet them?
I think the only thing Morgan would say after getting everything prepped and bound and just... You are good with a knife, Inquisitor. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Quick question while we have this moment. What do you think the Inquisition does?
Well, as far as I've seen, they lie, cheat, and steal from the rest of the Imperium.
Do you believe that's what the Inquisition does, or just what the Inquisitors you have dealt with do?
Well, I suppose any of us can make up stories and ideals of what we wish things to be, but from what I have seen, yes, that is all that it does. You are the only one who has shown different, which is why I feel confident in following you.
Interesting. All right, let's get back to work.
All right.
Cool. So, going to meet up with Atticus and Eli. Great. So, Force Pollard having just left, leaving a Space Marine-sized hole in the room. Atticus and Eli, you kind of have a moment where Staff Sergeant Oliver looks to both of you and says, with the summer season beginning, time will be somewhat short. I'm sure Lord Van Houten will still want to participate in the hunt.
Yes, of course.
Of course. And I suspect, from what I understand from the things we're hearing amongst the troops, there will likely be some combination event, wake, and or funeral occurring for Lady Bolonsong. And the hunt, I believe, is set to be changed to a memorial hunt. So I'm sure there will be more details forthcoming. That said, I'm sure you will want to touch base with the solicitor before then and possibly look into Lady Bolonsong's affairs. From what I've heard, the celestial season may be somewhat truncated. Rather than a full week for each season, it may become a matter of days. This has become a somewhat more fraught experience than I believe anyone was fully prepared for. In any case, I will have my people reach out to Mr. Smiggleton, give him all the details for you and your retinue. But I appreciate you being so forthcoming, and also, if I may, my lord, your ability to stand before one of the Emperor's angels and address them so respectfully but also clearly is, I'm in awe. Most of us have really very little idea how to speak to one as elevated as that, and you did quite well. Your military service really shines through.
Oh, well, thank you. It is through my military service that I learned to respect and acknowledge the rank.
And she just kind of smiles at that, almost a little longingly, like she can kind of almost taste what a proper military service would feel like. And she sort of nods to both of you and says, very good. Well, if you have need of me or my troops, please let us know through Mr. Smiggleton. Unfortunately, your ship will remain under impound until the king lifts it. Please rest assured that is not unique to you. All ships have been grounded at this time. The Cloud Palace is very well defended, but with everything that's going on, it can't be risked. I hope you understand.
Of course.
Staff Sergeant, if I may.
And she kind of looks to you, surprised, but also servants say things. Just, yes, you are in the service of the rogue trader.
I am indeed. And I would ask, I am also in charge of safety of Ms. Varn.
Mm-hmm.
And what assurances can be made that no more attacks will be made upon the competitors?
And she smiles kind of sadly and says, if you'd asked me that earlier today, I would have said that there was no chance there would be any foul play or attacks against any of the competitors. But clearly, forces beyond my reach are afoot here. Respectfully, though, our concern is for the society of which you and Lady Varn are not. We will, of course, endeavor to keep you safe as best we can, but our true concern must be the lords, ladies, and noble folk of the society. Surely you understand.
I do understand, given that many of the competitors are the lords and ladies of the society.
Yes.
I assume there would be extreme measures taken to protect them.
Of course. I suppose what I'm suggesting is that Lady Varn may not have such protections extended to her. We will, of course, try our best, but given that we couldn't even keep the Lady Bolonsong, and you can see like she's legitimately gutted that Bolonsong is dead, but given that we couldn't keep the Lady Bolonsong safe, I sincerely doubt we can keep anyone safe.
Indeed. My apologies for speaking out of turn.
And she kind of like looks at you and you can tell that she's also like basically working class, like a lot of the royal guard are, and she says, you're concerned for your lady. I understand that. I'm also concerned for those I meant to protect. I'm just realizing how very little power we have here.
He just kind of stiffens his jaw and nods.
And she kind of like puts her military cap back on, nods, turns on her heel and walks out. At which point, Valentyne and Morgan, you enter kind of behind her. She gives you kind of a brief nod. She gives Morgan a brief nod and ignores Valentyne appropriately and makes her way up.
Robert, some unexpected news from Forrest Pollard, who just paid us a visit. I've been named the executor of the Bolonsong estate. It was amended only just a few days ago.
That is indeed surprising, sir.
Yes. Would you kindly see to the particulars of that?
Yes, I will have Hugh sort out your hunting rifle. I will look into this. Is it possible for us to petition the palace to perhaps receive our forensic accountant to say us from aboard the ship? I believe I would be of more use if I had someone to help sift through the paperwork and legalese.
Sorry, I'm thinking more of the lordly way of saying it as opposed to thinking about like mulling over the decision itself.
Yes, that makes sense. I can sign a letter of request if you would draft it.
Done, sir. I'll have that for you in moments. He's data slayed out already writing that shit up.
I had a brief mental image of Atticus using a feather quill
Yeah.
in his giant hand. Dear King. Shit, well, that's all the room I got. Great. Okay. So, Ryan, I think we'll say, obviously, this goes through Hugh, but similar to some of the earlier checks we did. I like to basically go negotiation.
Okay.
And we'll use your stats because Hugh Smiggleton is merely the conveyance of your will here. I'm going to say, based on the argument you're making, it's a difficulty 2. Saying I need assistance from someone who's good at this particular stuff is, I think, a reasonable request, particularly given that to outside eyes, it's like a guy and his one servant, and then a lady and her one servant, and that's fucking it. And that is not exactly a great CSI team.
Yeah.
So I think that's a safe case to make. I'll give you a boost for the fact that you've kind of been given a royal edict on this, so it's not outside the realm. I'll also give you a setback for not being as warm with the king as you are with the duke. So you have a royal edict, but he's not like a huge fan, and based on his reaction to the crash, you're uncertain how he wants to like send some people to look into this, but you don't get the sense from his, like the reaction that was observed that like he particularly cares who did it. It's just exciting that it happened.
If Valentyne knew what had gone on, he would like to send the request to Forrest Pollard to talk to the king about it. Would it be possible to add a boost for that if Pollard liked Atticus and wanted to look into this? Because Pollard seems to have a personal stake in this, as opposed to the king, who's just some guy.
Yes, but I would raise the difficulty by 1 because it's harder to get a message to him directly. Because basically, Hugh Smiggleton has a direct line to the king. He can very easily deliver a message, but like delivering a message to Forrest Pollard is a lot harder. Thing is, if you can get it to him, your argument makes a lot more sense. It's a lot easier to get through. It's just harder to get the message to him. Does that make sense?
Forrest Pollard did ask for my cooperation in when I...
He did, but he wasn't like, here's my card.
No, but he said to send results to him.
He did say, reach out to me, contact me if you find anything.
That's true. Okay. All right. Then you can keep the difficulty at 2.
Awesome. We're gently abusing that privilege, but is there anything more aristocratic than gently abusing privilege from someone in power?
That might as well be the subtitle of this whole arc.
Alrighty, I'm going to use a story point for this because this feels big because Valentyne is not great at like technical details of paperwork, and this sounds like it will be.
Well, I've established that he's hard to reach, so my spite thing is to also spend a story point.
Okay. Shit.
Yeah, he's away from his desk.
He's in the Pelican. 1 triumph, 1 threat.
Christ. You open the window. He's walking away. You just ball it up and hit him in the back of the head. All right. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, 1 threat? 1 triumph, 1 threat? Okay. How do you think you get the message to him? Is it Laura sending Hugh?
Valentyne would direct it from himself because that would, in his political landscape, he's above Hugh. Hugh is the guy who answers the door. Valentyne is the personal steward.
Okay.
So Valentyne is the personal steward writing a message is much more formally appropriate from within the house. It also implies that the message is coming from the Lord more directly as opposed to being handed through a flunky.
Okay. With your triumph, I will give you the option. He has not yet boarded the vehicle. Would you actually want to chase after him and deliver this message personally, or would you want to send it to him? I know you mentioned wanting to like get a closer look at the Marine. So I want to give you triumph option. Either way, like it will be successful because you rolled successfully, but
yeah, I guess if it's ballsy, it would be very out of character to run after him unless he was ordered to. Okay, he's being ordered to. He can be eager. He's Valentyne. Yeah, no, he has that moment of indecision where he's like, do I run? Do I not? I don't really know what the requirements are socially on this. I'm a servant. He just turns and books out the door.
Let's imagine you like look to Eugene for advice and Eugene's just floating there saying nothing. It's like, right.
Yeah, no. So he'll book it out after and just say, Lord, great Lord, my apologies. I have been sent on behalf of my Lord Van Houten. He would find it of great use if he could bring one person out from the ship that has been, shall we say, dry docked and trapped here within that void field. We do have a forensic accountant amongst our people who could perhaps sift through the paperwork and find more effective answers for you than I on my own.
He considers you and like specifically your face, because you're still wearing the blindfold or no?
He would have taken that off around the house. That'd be consistent, and he would not want to try to play fucking games with a Marine.
Are you, I forget, when we came up with our delightful disguises 10 years ago in human time, what did you do to hide your eyes, or did you?
Didn't bother.
Didn't bother. Okay.
Eyes and scars on full display. He hides them when he goes out in public, but around the house, they've just been showing.
So he considers that, and then he kind of looks to your belt at the sheathed weapons.
And he has the unadorned breastplate as well with the military style uniform.
So he says, I find it somewhat concerning how many weapons Lord Van Houten's house seems to have on my planet that does not allow weapons. Show me your gun and your sword.
Absolutely, sir. And he just produces them both, and they're empty. They're handles. There's nothing in there.
And he looks at them, looks at you, and he says, that's either a pathetic display or an impressive one. I'm not sure which yet. You require a forensic accountant from your ship. This seems reasonable. I cannot expect a servant and a lord to be able to conduct an investigation on their own. That said, introducing more rogue elements into this situation is not my favorite. If anything reaches my ears that is untoward about this accountant, you, or Lord Van Houten, I will level this estate to the ground. I will murder everyone inside personally, and I will ensure that the name Van Houten rests somewhere beneath Voidstain and beneath the boot of Greybridge for the rest of time. Do I make myself clear?
Understood, sir.
How good is this accountant?
Very good, sir.
Is there anything you want to try and get out of this interaction with him? Are you trying to read motives? Are you trying to get information? I'm mostly asking whether or not there's a role, because otherwise he's happy to go on his way now, but...
Yeah, Valentyne's got what he needs, but I think the thing that he would ask is, I won't relay this information to my accountant because I would like to receive an unbiased survey, but are there any suspects that you think we should keep a particular eye on?
Ooh, all right. I'm going to make a roll. It's my one time per year that I do this. So he is going to try and suss out your motives for asking because he doesn't love that you did it, but he might understand why. Why don't let's do I guess an opposed check on this and see where it goes. I think, Ryan, for you, probably charm.
Okie dokie.
And for him, this will be perception, I think. Yeah, let's go with that. So your difficulty, Ryan, is going to be 2 yellow, 1 green. And 2 red, 1 purple.
Okay.
You'll never guess what Force Pollard's perception is. And if you could please tell me your charm.
It's 2 green. I'm not good at charm.
Okay. You can get a boost for telling the truth.
Okay.
I think I will give him a setback because he doesn't quite know what to make of your fake sword and gun situation. It's, again, he's doing...
I was going to say, I'm just confused about what each of us is actually, like, the effect of what we're rolling. What's he trying to figure out? What am I trying to do?
Okay, so you were being honest with him about, literally, are there any suspects? He is highly suspicious of everyone and everything. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're like, pardon me, I'm just a humble servant, but I'd love to know if you think there are any suspects. He's like, that is fucking way out of line. I don't trust that. I don't like that. At the same time, it could be genuine. So he is basically, he's you. He's just suspicious about what you're doing. Okay. So I'm asking you to roll for how convincing you're being, and I'm asking him to
how well he's reading the
for how well he's reading it, which could also feed his paranoia. So like if he wins the dice pool, he might be like, "Fuck you, sir." So yes, that's kind of where we're living. But normally I just have you guys roll and then I react to it. But in this case, I'm curious to see how his dice pool plays out because I think that will have an interesting effect on where this all goes. Anyway, so our difficulty is each other's score that we're playing off of. Force Pollard isn't fully certain about you because you're either very smart or very dumb, and he's not sure which is confusing and scary to him. So he gets a setback. I'll give him an additional setback because you are operating under orders, and he understands in the society that happens a lot. Like servants do all sorts of crazy shit under orders. Anybody else have a case for anything?
Sometimes if you used Valentine's deception, if he's telling the truth, which I think would work if this was a normal human, but Space Marines are bad at reading people to begin with, and Valentyne is a robot person. So when you factor all that in together, I'm like, nah, worst die pool makes more sense for Valentyne in dealing with somebody beyond human.
Yeah, I think so too. And then, Ron, I'm going to give you a setback for all the floating threat.
Sure. All right. 1 success, 3 threat.
I have 1 success. So I think the way we'll play this is he buys it from you. The threat is that he... okay. This is the way we'll play it. He believes you. However, he realizes he was on the fence about, are you really smart or really dumb? And now he's like, oh, you're really smart. And that's of concern. Smart servants is an interesting problem, but that's for him to know, not for Valentyne to know. So all of that is told in a brief exchange of glances.
You're smart, he says. And Valentyne goes,
It's just like, it's like
smart and weird.
So he considers you for a moment and then says, the challenge with this society and the games they play is everyone involved currently is a suspect, and a viable one at that. I'm curious about Lord Versailles. His injuries were significant, if survivable. He is currently undergoing treatment for smoke inhalation and burns. Having 2 separate heirs injured in the same event is concerning. Of course, I, for one, have never been particularly okay with the Voidstain family being allowed to crawl back onto this planet and get another foothold in here. Can you roll me a perception?
Hell yeah.
Difficulty of 3. There'll be 1 red, 2 purple. I don't actually have a case for any boost or setback to this.
It's feeling pretty key, so I think Valentyne will use story point on this one.
Yep.
These are the oh shit, I'm an inquisitor, I should know this moments of conversations.
Gotcha.
I think it's probably pretty clean though. That doesn't seem like there's booster setback. This is just people talking.
Yep.
Ooh, interesting. A triumph, 3 advantage, 1 failure.
Fuck. Okay.
This Marine just does not like me.
All right. So you'll take. You said how many failure?
1.
1. All right. So take 2 points of strain.
Okay.
Just social strain from this event. For the triumph, I'm gonna say you can gain a piece of information about this Marine just over the course of this conversation. It isn't necessarily what he's saying, but like, what is something you would want to observe or learn from him over the course of this, do you think?
This may be too big an ask.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if he's dirty or not. Because there's a chance there's a Marine who's here for legitimate reasons we don't fucking know looking after this guy. And that's possible that this is a servant of the Imperium. He may not even know there's a fucking Aeldari hiding on this goddamn planet. Or he's dirty, he's corrupted, he's not what he's supposed to be.
That sounds like the kind of thing a successful roll would have helped you with. So you can have something smaller than that. Because that is what that roll was, to determine how truthful he is being in his depiction of things. Or you can use the triumph elsewhere. I'm happy to pass it forward to something else.
I'm just wondering, could there be like Valentyne have something, I don't know, something to assist that, in that Eli heard the Space Marine say something about like the seasons and the whole pageantry and everything being more important than it seems, and would have relayed that?
In the course of the short conversation you had, I don't know if there was time. Okay, so I think what I'll say instead is I will let the triumph stand, unless you have a pitch, but I'm also happy to give you like a legitimate clue that he has for the triumph.
Yeah, I'm cool. I would say I'm cool with that, or the idea that like there's something percolating from this conversation with the Space Marine and it could add up to a bigger answer later. I'm fine with either. GM's choice.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think you can have that for the triumph. Similar to his either, and to be clear also, like he could well be on the level. It's just like,
yeah, I just don't know yet.
You can't figure out which way it's swinging, but you can tell that this is all a bit by rote. Like this all feels almost like a script. Like he's just rattling it off at you, which says something in and of itself, particularly around like his investment in the case, because he's clearly got a personal stake in this, and yet he's giving you a very like
what I would expect from a servant of a household that's 100%. Just parroting somebody else's political opinion.
Like Hugh practically could have given you this spiel. But for the triumph, I will also give you. He kind of pauses for a second, and he says, "Lady Bolonsong's family also died in a crash. I have no hard evidence, but the Barberstein family was top of my list for those involved. Although Bobby seems somewhat more genial, his parents were certainly not so jolly. It is very difficult to make a foothold here, and though the younger Barberstein perhaps does not understand that, his parents were certainly willing to do whatever it took in order to establish themselves here. That said, I don't know that he would have done it, but there you go. Honestly, any of the four now, I suppose, lead heirs have good reason to try and kill Guinevere. All of our research before your Lord Van Houten arrived suggested that she would be the forerunner for this. In fact, many, including, and he kind of nods to the staff sergeant, he's like, many, including those within our ranks, had hoped that she would ascend the throne and would perhaps become heir to King Frederick, if Wickstop does indeed inherit. So everyone, I suppose, except perhaps your lord. Unless your accountant turns out to be bad, then perhaps him. So don't fuck with us, please. Really, really do not want to kill everyone in this house.
Understood and appreciated, sir.
And he kind of nods. Anything else you want from this guy before he goes?
This feels pretty good. He got what he needed for the case. Generally neutral impression. Didn't fuck things up. Great.
Yep. So that he just turns and kind of like gestures to people to take off. And there's a blast of wind as the repulsors beneath the ship fire up, and he goes and sort of climbs aboard. Before he does, or as he gets on, you see him pull out an auspix and just kind of key something in, and we'll just, for sake of storyboarding, say that like message went through to the guards to like let someone through. So one of them goes sort of basically to the ramp and like calls for Treseus. He comes down, confused as all hell, and is kind of like pulled through, and then the Pollard shuts the door. So as the guard said, they don't control it, but he kind of clicks it shut, nods, and then gets inside the dropship.
Yeah, but Valentyne will approach him and just be like, Treseus, it is your friend Rebute Figurello. Your lord has need of you. And he'll just fucking bum rush this dude through the house up to the third floor to run him through everybody's fake names and shit.
Honestly,
and
you could not have pulled a better person off the ship to fall in with this. He's just like, of course, I look forward to serving my lord. And as you pull him in, he's just like, sir, please tell me that Eli is not our lord. That would be very difficult.
Oh, no, it's Lord Van Houten. And he's just going to shove him up into this and be like, all right, so it's Atticus. Honestly, it's going better than any of us would have expected. Quite good, quite good. Turns out we also tried to run Morgan as a secondary candidate, and let's just say she shit the bed.
Yes, and may I ask...
She's not in the room for this. This is Treseus.
Did it go over well? Did we manage to make a spark between the Barberstein and the Bolonsong? I must say, as I was working on it, I kind of got to hoping that perhaps there would be some love there, that maybe I could make a small happy difference in the world. Yes?
Spark was indeed made, but unfortunately it was by a murderer that blew up the ship of Guinevere Bolonsong. So
that is disappointing.
Due to some very strange confluences of events, apparently the executor of her will is Lord Francois Van Houten.
What?
Yes, this is exactly what I said about 10 minutes ago. So what we need is to examine the will and all of the other legal and forensic materials and determine who's behind this if we can, which parts of the will we're expected to execute however we are, and which parts of that are crooked or rife for abuse. We need to impress the royal family, and most importantly, we need to find this murderer. There is a space marine involved if we do a bad job. The marine says they will kill all of us. The other thing is just, the space marine could just be legitimately excellent. I don't know yet, so I'd rather impress them than infuriate them.
That makes sense to me. The presence of a space marine on this planet is very concerning for a variety of reasons. Not the least of which is what I have up my pant leg and back, sir. And he just kind of like hoists up his shirt and just pulls Morgan's rifle out and kind of puts it down. He says, I hope you will forgive me. I thought perhaps Miss Rose might need it in case my letter did not go so well.
You are tremendously good at your job.
And he just nods and says, you spend that much time on Last Gleaming. You get a sense for what inquisitorial parties need, yes?
Yes, you are correct. And he'll just lean out down the hall and like spot Morgan. He's not going to yell Morgan's name through the house. He's not that dumb. Just like finger summon, pointer, and just say, you need to disassemble this in a way it can be hidden, but it's here for you.
I did not want to take it apart myself. I figured I would probably fuck it up, and then, I don't know, maybe this doesn't go here, and I did not want to break the slide lock or anything.
Terceus, you keep giving us very good news on very bad days. Thank you.
He nods with like a little smile and a spring in his step, and as he leaves, you just see Hugh Smingleton staring daggers at this new clerk who has clearly arrived, and just kind of like crosses his arms and just watches him as Terceus like happily just, like makes his way down the hall.
Hugh, this is Terceus. We're on the second floor because otherwise Valentine's answer would be, get off the third floor.
We could also assume this happens like down the stairs.
I know. I just wanted to paint a clear picture.
Hugh's just going to be like, pardon me, sir, who's Atticus?
Yeah, exactly. Hugh, this is Terceus, our forensic accountant. He's going to assist us in making sure that everyone on this property is not murdered by Forrest Pollard.
I was unaware that was on the table, sir. I shall, of course, help Mr. Terceus, however I can.
Excellent. Thank you. Your discretion is always appreciated, as is all of our survival. And he'll just give a nod.
Yeah. So Hugh will get Terceus to basically go talk to the solicitor and get things sorted there. So the two of them kind of go off professionally frenemying. There might be an enemies to lovers situation at some point. Who knows? We'll see. So off they go, leaving the rest of you to kind of catch up on the day's events.
Yeah, the thing that Morgan wanted to do, and I guess it could be in the meantime while everyone is going around, but she would want to go down to the rowdy kitchen and ask the degenerates about finding her pheromones, which is certainly a thing.
Can you please, let's go with skullduggery.
Sure.
Or streetwise. I'll take either one, but I feel like this is probably skullduggery because you're talking to skullduggers.
I am.
I'm going to say difficulty 2.
Okay.
I will give you a boost for having already hired these people. I'll give you another boost for hiring degenerates.
My guys.
I will give you a setback for the planet-wide curfew.
Yeah.
And the speed required.
Fair.
Now that the timeline on the celestial season is shortened, it's going to be real bad.
Yeah.
I'll give you one additional boost because it is the celestial season. There is a hunt, and as we've established, there's like a bunch of families who have full storylines going that we are just not seeing because they're all like down the rungs. So the idea of people wanting to cheat at the hunt is like a common enough thing that it's like trying to find steroids at the Olympics. Like you're gonna find it. It's just a matter of who got there first.
Yeah, and I think Morgan would also sell it like, I was injured in the last race, and so I might need a little leg up in this hunt. But definitely making like, I want these. Only me. Only for me. It's my thing.
Okay. We're going to roll this check, and then I'm going to roll to see how much they believe that.
It's not just the Olympics. This is the Russian qualifier.
Yeah.
So weird. Every judge gives a 10. I don't understand.
All right, I'm going to roll it as is. 2 success, 2 advantage. They speak my language.
Yeah. But let's see if they're believing your language. So now I'm going to need from you.
Do you want my deception?
I do. I really do.
My deception is you're going to get 3 purple, 1 red for deception.
Oh,
Or you want me
I'm
to
gonna have
roll
you roll. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have stats for your degenerates. It will not surprise you to know that I did stat out the Space Marine, but did not stat out
What?
kitchen nerds.
I was going to say, you are concealing information.
Yeah, so I get a boost because I'm concealing information. That's part of my whole shtick.
Really? You?
Me.
All right. Yep. I'll buy
Do you have
that.
2 points in deception or 1?
Just 1.
Oh, got
You
it.
see it?
Yep. It's the old sheets. They have the other, like, selecting
Oh,
and
this
interesting.
means
It's a
yeah,
30K
career.
sheet.
Yeah.
It was before they upgraded to 40K sheets.
Palatine
Everything looks
sheet.
a little bit. Yeah, there it is.
Took it from me. I wrote it down.
She did write it down.
Yeah, all right. Good job.
Came back to me, hasn't come up yet.
Cool.
Fine. Like, took my sneeze that I held in, and then Ryan sneezed it.
Achoo.
After months
Yeah,
of suffering.
so I think the
Bless
lesson
you,
is
Ryan.
you just need to open an episode if you haven't remembered a word. Be like, Palatine.
I should have. I was being nice and letting the story take its course. But
It sounds
now
like
I've
Morgan
learned.
is bleeding into Dell.
And
You're
so
just
was
like,
I. I was just making a sheet reference.
all right, let's get
All
this
right,
deception roll
what's
going.
my difficulty?
Your difficulty is 4 because these people are naturally distrustful of anyone showing up being like, it's just for me, trust me. But I'll also give you a boost for the fact that you hired them. So
They
this
should-
is
even if they don't believe me, they shouldn't care. But fine.
yeah. Oh, look, you already succeeded in them going to get this for you.
That's fine. That's all I need. All right, I'm gonna roll it.
Yep, do it.
3 successes.
Okay, well, they don't believe you, but they understand that they should believe you. So it's one of those like everyone kind of like nods at each other, being like, well,
Wink, wink.
boss said. But they won't pursue it any further, and it won't
Great.
affect how they deal with you. So, one of them, the one who's been just exhausted from banging pans, she's just like,
Still going?
no one told him to stop. So they're just
I
clanging
don't know how they
away.
knew to start, but
Space Marine just loudly talking over the cacophony in the kitchen. Just
They just come in and bang pots for 8 hours
that's
a
how
day.
humans roll. I don't know. Space Marines like they're weird. It's just
Your food upsets
must be
and
weird to
disturbs
have to eat.
So they
This is why I eat paste. He says to himself with the helicopter out.
puts down the pans and says, all right, yeah, we can. I'm sure we can find some of that for you. And I think while we're at it, we'll probably try and find a record player for music down here, so we don't have to bang as many pots and pans.
whatever works. You are all doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you for overlooking the cutlery.
What?
They've been stealing cutlery, and Eli just decided it was fine. So like they're just continuing to steal
That
cutlery.
means nothing to us.
It means a lot to us, so thank you. All right, we'll find you your pheromones for your injuries.
Yes. Morgan is like sweaty and doesn't look great, and she's gonna just limp back upstairs.
Admittedly, they've been banging pots and pans like that. They don't look great either. All right, so Morgan, you make your way back upstairs. The pheromones will be found. Is there anything else you want to do on this first evening as spring becomes summer?
When is the hunt? How much prep
Well,
time
it was
do we have?
supposed to be next week, but the timelines have been moved up.
Yeah.
So you'll likely have kind of a day to prep, and then the memorial hunt will occur, and then
Memorial hunt.
the funeral / wake will be / party will be likely that night. I think they're going to try and just move things along to like
We've got a
basically a 2-day. They're moving from a week-long cycle to like a 2-day cycle.
Okay, we've got a day to prep, but also we as a house have an additional responsibility for now overseeing the Bolonsong estate then.
Yep, and you're not quite sure what that entails or what's going on there. But it also opens up some potential opportunities for you.
Sure, yeah.
And then you are still on the hook to host a party in fall.
The following event,
along
yeah.
with your amazing poetry that I, Tom, am excited to hear.
Poetry slam?
Yeah. I was gonna say, to do the speed recap rather than doing 2 episodes worth of scenes where we all remember what the plan is roughly. We've got Eli and Atticus working on the poetry.
Mm-hmm.
We've got work crews building the maze. That's already been designed.
Yeah.
So that's just happening at its own speed. Valentyne tonight would just like to put in the order to have, for lack of a better term, the John Wick gun guy come by to be like, here are your
Sommelier.
rifles, Lord. Pick one out. And then the real question would be the actual case of who's going to be working on stuff around the house versus who's going to be working on the Bolonsong estate. And that's probably where we can cut into the group.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, before the actual events take place, it might be of greatest use for me to be working with Teseus on trying to ferret out whatever information we can from this vast treasure trove of what's happening. Does anyone else have any other ideas, suggestions, thoughts?
One thing that Pollard said that caught my interest mentioned something, I can't remember the words, something about the tradition and what was happening in the seasons having more of a meaning to it
He said
than was apparent on the surface.
He said we would learn as time
Yes.
goes on the importance of the celestial seasons. More important than they seem.
Fascinating.
Some sort of ritual, perhaps?
Yes, I can't get a read entirely on this marine, whether they are focused or not. One of the Emperor's angels, an Emperor's fallen angel, and devil. There are many
A
options.
fallen angel, sir.
Yes. We have battled the forces of chaos on an ongoing basis, and they are capable of corrupting anyone.
Oh,
Space Marines included.
apologies, I thought I'd know one when I saw one. He seemed the pinnacle of service to the Emperor, sir.
As many do over the course of time. Glasgow Vicodin seemed like a pinnacle of service to the Emperor. There are those who can be misled into evil, and there are those who choose evil. And unfortunately, in a number of cases, we have to kill them either way. That is the cost of being in the Inquisition. My hope is that this Marine, Forrest Pollard, is a loyal son of the Emperor, perhaps being misled by a king who is hiding the Eldar amongst his domain. But there is a chance that this Marine has been corrupted, that this Marine is corrupt and hiding that fact, or that this Marine is just being fooled as you were into fighting a proxy war for which they are not meant to be part of. But this relationship between a bodyguard that is one of the Adeptus Astartes and a king on this world, no matter how related to one of the High Lords, is, and I mean this, abject insanity. This Marine is not enough to defend this world from any great cost that would come forwards. There is not enough of a fleet high enough to be able to hold back true enemy forces. It is somehow overkill and an extreme underestimation, and I don't understand the balance of the scales.
The impression I received from him, sir, is he'd be quite useful for helping a king remain king, sir.
Yes.
Any room he's in, no one is committing, regicide.
Correct.
But
Is that a normal thing for Space Marines to do? Look, I've only ever seen them. I mean, I've never really seen them. I've
No,
just
me neither.
heard of them taking part in battles.
There are a few chapters that have focused on the political. The royal consuls have had a belief in trying to rule alongside humanity until they were nearly wiped out in the course of a war, and now they've begun to focus on more traditional pursuits. Generally, those chapters that were descended directly and indirectly from our current imperial regent, Rabute Gilliman, they are more capable of leadership and suborning themselves to the will of mortal men. But you are correct, I've never heard of a personal bodyguard to someone outside of the Lords of Terror, and again, in that case, it's not one Marine. You put a squad, you put a company, in some cases chapters if they're going off on crusade. It's a very fascinating mystery, and one that I am so glad to have had foisted upon us. So, again, hoping the Marine is innocent, cannot trust the Marine to achieve our goals, because if they have been sworn to protect this system, or to protect this Eldar for all we know, they could be an impediment between us and our goal.
Sir, if corrupted or not, if Forrest Pollard finds out that we are lying about who we are, what are our options as the Inquisition here?
Any and all options are on the table.
Attacking a Space Marine, sir.
We are the Inquisition, Atticus.
Yes, sir.
We don't attack anything unless it's for gain.
Yes, sir.
We kill it.
Yes, sir.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum-Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Diovasis, Loki Burrito, Squishy Werewolf, Remy, Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.